Welcome to Fog City Sports. This is our second episode of our weekly podcast. We got Johnny Boom Boom here.
What up?
We got Jerry the Thread Killer. We got Paul. So our first topic of the day is...
You gotta shout out dogs.
Oh, we also got our producer Augustine here. So, sorry about that, Aug. So our first topic of the day is, are the Niners, are we in panic mode after the second week of the preseason? John, you want to start it off?
I would say on a scale of 1 to 10 on the panic mode, I would say we're at like a hard 6.
Why is it a 6?
I think we're at a hard 6. I think there's some rooms that we need to be a little worried about. I mean, I watched the game, and I mean, I don't know. I'm still not convinced that, you know, this is the team that I want to see going in to the regular season. I know it's just preseason, but it's still not fun to watch them get pounded 34-0 in their home stadium on their first game at their new home. I was a little nervous. Blaine Gabbert still looks terrible. I don't know. I know we didn't have a lot of our defense out there. I thought there were some pluses, but I still think I would still like to see them clean it up a little bit before when we play San Diego this Sunday.
All right, I'll guess on a scale of 1 to 10, my panic button number is a 0. A 0 because 2 series Kaepernick was in there. First series, that's the only one I can recall. He moved the ball. They set up a field goal drive. Of course, they missed a field goal. But all it is about the starters. The starters, a lot of starters were not playing the game. Michael Crabtree wasn't in there. Defensively, you got so many players who weren't there. Justin Smith, Tremaine Brock, Navarro Bowman, of course he's injured. Patrick Willis. Anybody else can name some other players who weren't playing in the game?
Tremaine Brock.
I said that, Tremaine Brock. But that's the main reason. All I care about are the starters and the second stringers who get some reps. And
Did you take any pluses from the game?
pluses the game. Quinton Dial showed up.
Second game in a row.
Second game in a row. He's definitely going to be a player that will be in the rotation for the defensive line. Tank Carradine, he showed up.
He did.
Straight up showed
Mike
up.
Wilhoit had a good game, 7 tackles.
Mike Wilhoit. They got the battle between the other inside linebacker from Wisconsin, Chris Borland. That's a tough competition going.
That's replacing Patrick
Navarro Bowman.
Navarro Bowman, right? Yeah, we were talking about that before you got here.
I go back to what Jerry says, the 49ers will get blown out in every game, every regular season game, if Frank Gore touches the ball twice, which is not going to happen. Bolden, Crabtree, Davis combined for 1 reception.
Right.
Combined for 1 reception.
How many series? 2 series, probably the max.
No starters on the defensive line suit up.
Thank you.
Patrick Willis.
Ray McDonald. I forgot to say Ray McDonald.
And their best quarterback, Tremaine Brock, doesn't even step on the field. So as far as panic mode,
What's your number?
I'm on a negative.
Oh, better than
1
my
or
0.
negative 2.
You
The
guys,
fact that the
I don't know
Niners-
how you guys are nervous.
Oh,
I'm nervous a little bit.
And our buddy Jerry brought up a good point.
Can I?
Why would we expose ourselves to the Denver Broncos, who we're going to play in the regular season? We're not going to show them our playbook.
I typed that in the Facebook chat.
We'll
and
show the limited
I killed the
playbook.
thread. Nobody even responded back to me on our Facebook thread.
It's the limited
Nobody
playbook
responded back to me.
that we're going to show against the Broncos. Why would we show John Fox?
Can I propose a question though?
Go ahead.
Can I propose a question? All right.
This
so,
is the producer. If we didn't,
Yeah,
you don't recall
sorry,
the
bro.
voice.
I don't always come in, but if our secondary and our third can't do what we want in quarterback position, and we need to reach out to someone else on another team, who do you think we should reach out to
For a trade?
for a trade?
I don't think there's a trade right now. I don't
What,
think
for a backup QB?
there's an open market for any trade.
No, there is a backup QB there. Provision, like they said that there is. Perhaps our secondary is not on our team.
Who
Oh, you mean our backup quarterback?
Our backup, backup
so
quarterback.
they leave the door open. I'm not convinced that Gabbert.
It's wide open with Gabbert. I
don't think he's.
I don't think he's
hopefully we
Gabbert.
never have to see him.
Gabbert will remain our team due to the fact that he's $2 million guaranteed as a third string. Josh Johnson will be the backup quarterback, in my opinion. He knows the system well.
Well, in a perfect world, we hope we never have to see Gabbert.
Yeah.
Right?
Definitely.
That's what we want. I mean, we are. There are people are stressing about the backup quarterback because Kaepernick does run the ball and
Right.
he can't get hurt. It is football.
Right.
But I mean, I don't know how much.
I mean, it's really
nerves
tough.
should we have to put in our backup.
Blaine Gabbert, I'm not defending Blaine Gabbert, but, in the Jaguars, he went through 2 offensive coordinators.
Right.
In college, he was from the shotgun.
Mm-hmm.
He's not used to getting the ball under center. He's not getting used to the 3-step drop back, 4 or 5-step drop back.
Mm-hmm.
Just playing in our offensive system, he does not have the rhythm. That's why balls are oversailing.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I feel like he's not ready to be our backup quarterback, and I do agree with Paul that Josh Johnson will be our backup quarterback. But again, who was Josh Johnson playing with? I feel more comfortable with Josh Johnson playing with our first stringers, Anquan Bolden, Vernon Davis, our offensive line that gives him time to pass the ball.
Is it safe to say I kind of miss Colt McCoy?
No.
Not at all.
Josh Johnson's a better athlete. I mean,
Better arm, better athlete.
Poor man.
He's
Poor
been
man.
involved before.
Version of Kaepernick.
San Diego State?
Colt McCoy is my boy, though.
University of San Diego. Sorry.
Yes.
University of San Diego. Josh Johnson, who knows the Harbaugh offense.
So you think Josh Johnson's going to be the 2?
He is the number
Definitely.
2. And Gabbert will be at third string by default based on the salary that is all upon him.
But he's learning. That's all we got to do. They want a refund.
Right.
They want that 6th rounder back, that
Right.
5th rounder.
Like I
I
said.
could care less about a 6th rounder or 5th rounder.
Hopefully, we never have to see either one of them on the field.
Knock on wood, don't get hurt, Cap.
Hopefully, we never see him again.
Wait, Gabbert?
Yeah, I'm just saying. I mean, hopefully, we never see either of our back.
I think Gabbert really is the biggest disappointment in this whole training camp. I had high expectations for Gabbert.
Yeah,
Coming out of 2011, I wanted Gabbert at the number 7 pick.
Let's talk about the Greg Roman play calling, because I hear
Yeah.
people tripping about that.
I'm not tripping about it.
Yeah, that's why I was surprised people were tripping
Why would you worry about Greg Roman's offensive play call?
I didn't like Greg Roman last year. I'm still not that big of a fan
Alright.
of him.
Why would it unleash the
I think he's a
playbook?
little too conservative for me.
This year, like what Jerry said earlier, and I believe Kaepernick, 4,000 yards, 30 touchdowns.
It's hard to have a playbook with Kyle Williams as your number 2 option.
Right.
It's
Or number
hard
one
to have a
outside.
playbook. Yeah, but we have the weapons right now. I think this is the year that proves if Greg Roman is the right coordinator. But honestly, when it comes to coaches, I feel like players, they're the ones who dictate everything. If you have the players, they can make anybody look good.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like Greg Roman is getting the wrong end of the deal. Of course, he might feel like he was a little too conservative,
Right.
running the ball goal line a little bit too much. But a lot of the times, if that run went through, a lot of the glory goes to the coordinator. Oh, of course, coordinators, they don't call plays thinking that the play would fail.
Right.
But a lot of the times, good defense will always beat good offense.
You think it's a make or break here for him?
Good
I don't think-
defense, though.
I don't
That's
agree with
another
that.
You
story.
think it's a
though.
make or break here? I think it is.
I think they're going to run the ball less this year in the regular season. You're going to see Kaepernick unleash with Stevie Johnson is your number 3, who really was a number 2 quarter receiver, played number 1 in Buffalo. But I think Brandon Lloyd makes the team this year, and Bruce Ellington, the number 5 quarterback.
Sorry,
playing the
Kasim
slot.
Osgood. I'm sorry, Kasim Osgood.
You think Kasim Osgood?
If Lloyd makes the team, Kasim Osgood will be cut.
What about Quinn Patton?
Quinn Patton has to make the team just because of his youth and his upside.
You don't think they demoted to the practice squad? No.
If he gets demoted to the practice squad, he will be swooped up by another team with the quickness.
So Brandon Lloyd is really gone.
It's either Brandon Lloyd or Kasim Osgood. And I really don't know. Because Kasim Osgood, special teams,
He's a great
gunner, top of the league.
So, but in the previous game, they wanted to use Brandon Lloyd, throwing that deep threat to Brandon Lloyd.
And he did get open. He went on a number 1 cornerback.
Yeah, he went right through him through Akeem Talib.
Yeah, but I guess that's what Balke has to weigh. Special teams
Or
over
offense.
a 4th or 5th receiver. That's really tough. who gets more playing time, a fourth receiver or a special teams gunner?
I think with our team right now, we're more exposed to having a better special team player. So I guess going back to your point, Jerry, Lloyd doesn't make the team. Osgood makes the team.
Of course, Lloyd will flash. He will make the great plays. But special teams is a part of the game that a lot of people don't really care about.
Very underrated.
Very underrated.
And Osgood's a great gunner. We need a gunner. We have Spillman and Osgood. They're great at.
If you're playing Madden, you better update those attributes. Bump. I don't know what to bump up. They don't even have a special teams gunner stat.
Madden's coming out.
Gunner stat.
Send me a copy.
Do you think this year is a Super Bowl or bust year?
The Super Bowl, but I believe that the Niners.
If anything is less than a Super Bowl win,
I think the Super Bowl is over. I think with the team that they have, if not the deepest roster in the NFL, this is the team that will make the Super Bowl.
I think this is the best chance we have.
The Seahawks.
I think so.
The Seahawks will not continue the success they had last year.
Right.
Success.
Because a lot of it could be an aberration. I mean, they had a really good team last year. But look at it. They lost Red Bryant. They lost the other pass rusher. I forgot his name. Clemens.
Who's old?
He's like 31, 31.
Sorry, you think those are the top two Super Bowl
And
contenders?
they lost two of their cornerbacks. They lost the guy who went to the Patriots. Browner. And they lost Thurman.
Right.
And they're putting Sherman. You still have Chancellor, who I think is overrated, really, in my opinion. Earl Thomas and the other guy. I forgot the other guy.
Yeah, it's just their defensive line. They're just really fast. If you don't get that early yardage, first and second down, third down is pretty much hell for all of them.
But what the NFL is trying to impose this year is a lot of the holding, the grappling within after the 5 yards.
Definitely.
So I think that's going to expose the Seahawks heavily.
And we've seen the increase on penalties called during preseason.
Yeah, and that's going to transition over to the regular season.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but penalties in 2013 season, 13 penalties called. Now during preseason, 19 penalties called. So we can see
an increase.
But they're trying out things. I can see more mid-level 15 to 16 penalties called.
Well, I think also, Jerry, I think it depends on the game. Like the Niners-Seahawks game, when they play, I think that's when it's going to be heavily focused.
Right.
As opposed to, say, like a Browns-Jaguars game.
Right.
But it's Niners-Seahawks, that's when the referees, they're going to bring out the best referees to look at those plays, to mitigate those plays, to ensure that, hey, are we going to enforce those type of rules? So stipulations out, right?
Definitely.
So it depends on the games.
So you guys want to transition to any other topic in the NFL? Here we got Manziel.
Johnny Manziel.
Okay.
Johnny Football. Johnny Boom Boom.
Middle finger.
Boom Boom.
With Johnny Manziel.
So Manziel came out yesterday that he did not get announced as a starter. Hoyer got the starting nod. Who did he play the other day when he flipped off the crowd?
Redskins.
Yeah. So, as he walked off the field, he flipped. He gave the bird. Did that influence him losing the starting job? I think it did. I think that showed his immaturity. He was a hothead at Texas A&M. He's still very young, very raw, very green, and I think you got to go with the veteran Hoyer. I mean, he had a good year until he got hurt, but I do think that Manziel is going to be the quarterback to. He will be the quarterback by the end of the year. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to say.
Right.
But I do think him sort of acting out and just his sort of attitude right now, I still think that he needs to sort of be grounded and needs a reality check. And so far, his response is that he's willing to accept his role as the backup and earn his way up as a starter.
Yeah, I always felt right from the get-go Brad Hoyer should get the job, because I feel like if Johnny Manziel had the job right from the get-go and he struggled and you gave it back to Hoyer, mentally that'll that's tough on a young quarterback. I always feel like you give the time for the young quarterback to groom. You see what they're doing in Jacksonville. They're already announcing that Bortles will not be the starter this year.
They already said that.
They announced it.
Bortles.
But that's how it used to be back in the good old day.
Right.
You groom the quarterback. You let him learn the offense.
So is Bridgewater the only rookie starting quarterback?
Matt Castle still has a chance.
Yeah. So
that still hasn't been decided.
Right.
But from my opinion, I think it does affect, what Pettin or the GM had to do with the Manziel decision, flicking them off, flicking the whole side of the defense off.
Yeah.
But I agree with what they're doing. Brad Hoyer is a solid quarterback. He was under the tutelage of Tom Brady and Belichick, and he did great for the time he was in the game. 4 games last year. And, let Manziel learn the offense.
I totally agree with you, Jared. I think if the Browns, in their situation right now, they're not in a win-now mode. They're more of a development mode.
Right.
So instead of throwing Manziel out there, who's really observing him for the passing game, is not ready in this NFL in the NFL season. Mm-hmm. I think Hoyer is the guy for the time being.
I do. I think he is a good guy, but I wonder if the fans will have a short leash with Hoyer. That if he has 2 bad games, will they start the Manziel chant?
I don't think
or are they going to ride? Or are they ride? I think they want to see Manziel play.
I don't think they should. See, the thing is, the fans are basing everything on emotion.
Of course,
is the front office is willing to accept that?
Right.
If not, if the front office is willing to win, and they're looking at long term, Manziel should be a starter a year from now or even 2 years from now. Manziel is not.
If you
ready.
look at the schedule, the Cleveland Browns have a really tough early schedule. I honestly could see the Browns losing their first 3 games of this season.
Right.
And that's already going to cause controversy.
It will.
And I see Manziel playing the 4th game.
I agree.
But with this time, those 3 games of practice, learning the system and the offense is going to help Manziel. Right. And if I feel like putting Manziel the first 3 games in the season, when it's a tough schedule, he loses the first 3 games.
It kills his confidence.
Then you put Hoyer in, and it's just going to go back and forth, which is just stupid.
Yeah. You don't want the same Alex Smith syndrome that the Niners experienced, right? Throwing Alex Smith in the fire. It's not going to happen.
Give me the Aaron Rodgers. There's no Brett Favre in Cleveland, but give me the Aaron Rodgers
4 years of sitting down.
That's a long time to
It's a long time, but I overdid it with that example. But
MVP, Super Bowl, is Manziel willing to just sacrifice 4 years or 3 years?
With that terrible arm angle in California, Berkeley. I can't believe Mike McCarthy, how he changed that arm angle. I don't think people realize how Aaron Rodgers is a totally different quarterback.
Oh, yeah. I thought you were talking about Manziel.
I'm talking Aaron Rodgers.
That's why the Niners didn't take him number 1.
I never
thought he held the ball wrong.
Yeah. Down here.
Exactly. Yeah. It's night and day.
Look at Nate Longshore.
Nate Longshore.
Wow.
We don't want to get serious with Nate Longshore. Or Joey. You got to bring a Joey.
Shout out
to City College for keeping a college.
He's on a Mormon-like journey right now.
But Aaron Rodgers was the perfect example of someone who was drafted number 17 overall, who could have been drafted number 1. And he waited 4 years.
Right.
And he was able to develop as a perennial MVP who won the MVP and won a Super Bowl.
Right.
And if you were to ask Aaron Rodgers right now, would you have wanted to start Game 1 in Week 1, or would you rather have waited till 4 years later? He would have said 4 years later, because he was able to develop as the quarterback he is now.
Yeah, I still think Manziel is a quarterback of the future. He's just not the quarterback right now.
No, not right now.
Yeah.
I think the arm strength isn't there. I really don't believe the arm strength is there. But let's go back to our next topic. What
do you want to do? Next topic is
Johnny.
What else is going on in the football world?
Boom.
I'm trying to think right now what else is going on in the football world.
When there's fantasy football.
James Blount's. Blount smoking them trees.
James Blount is an artist, bro.
LeGarrette Blount.
I like James Blount, bro.
That's a funny topic. This is not really too much.
Our producer played some James Blount when you edit that out.
Yeah.
I think let's bring up the discussion of the NBA. Let's bring up the NBA right now.
Okay.
I think with the whole the Hall of Fame, right?
Right.
You know, we were watching just starters earlier on NBA TV. They're bringing up discussions about who deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, right? And
What do you mean, right now?
I mean, right now, let's look at players who are still playing, who are on the fringe of retirement. You look at a Steve Nash,
Hall of Fame.
a Manu Ginobili.
Hall of Fame.
Yeah, Hall of Fame.
You
I
look
agree.
at Tim Duncan.
Hall of Fame.
That's an easy one. Come on.
Vince Carter.
I don't know.
Tracy McGrady.
I don't know.
I don't
I don't
know.
think so about either of them. I think Vince Carter has a chance to make it. But I mean, can you really make the Hall of Fame just off dunking?
Yeah.
We got Pau Gasol, who was there for 2 good years, though. 2 World Series, 2 NBA championships.
Yeah, it's tough.
Olympic medal. That's big.
Right.
But and you look at Manu Ginobili.
Right.
In my opinion, this is my opinion.
You guys think Menu's going to go to the Hall of Fame?
I do.
If this is based on
He's a bench player.
based on baseball writers, in my opinion,
Yeah.
Ginobili's not a first ballot Hall of Fame.
I don't think he's a Hall of Famer. I mean, he's lucky because he's playing with Parker and Duncan
This is,
and Popovich.
this is baseball.
Right.
We'll throw in the baseball writers here. Ginobili's
Baseball writers voting for basketball.
not a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Okay.
Even a Pau Gasol is not a first ballot
Right.
Hall of Famer. Tony Parker is not a first ballot Hall of Famer. Vince Carter will not make the Hall of Fame.
I don't think so.
Duncan, first ballot Hall of Famer. Steve Nash,
That's obvious.
I don't even see him as a first ballot Hall of Famer with baseball writers
Right.
and being involved. More
Yeah.
a second, third ballot.
Yeah, I'm sorry to cut you off. I just really feel like you can't do it like the Baseball Hall of Fame with statistics, minus the steroid era.
Right.
I mean, you look at Jeff Kent, who won an MVP, who only got
Yeah.
60% of the vote,
Yeah.
who should be a first ballot Hall of Fame given his statistics, right?
Yeah, I really feel like it's based on eras. Because if we look at Hall of Fame players right now, and you compare them to NBA players who are on the brink, the offensive game has picked up so much
Since
over the
2004,
years.
2004.
So that's why you can't look at the stats. You can't look at the points per game. You can't look at the rebounds. You can't look at the assists. You can't look at the steals. Those are the main stats everyone looks at. So it's really tough. It's like you have to make a criteria for the age today, and which is based on playoff appearances, championships.
Ginobili with 4 championships.
That's why he's in the Hall of Fame for me.
I can go back to what you're saying, Jerry, because if Mitch Richmond made the Hall of Fame with 1 championship with the Lakers as a
Which I don't even count. Like he
bench
contributed.
player,
Yeah,
as a 12th man,
definitely.
Ginobili deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
Definitely.
And when you go back to Kevin Pelton and ESPN, Ginobili has 20% chance of making the Hall of Fame, which is ridiculous. Pau Gasol 15% chance of making the Hall of Fame, who has 2 championship rings, which is ridiculous. Tony Parker, not even 100% chance. So I believe Parker's a Hall of Famer. Excuse me. But, yeah, I mean, Vince Carter, in my opinion, doesn't make the Hall of Fame. I don't think he's Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's just totally different because if you look at a player like Robert Horry with all those
7.
championships, he doesn't make a Hall of Fame. I feel like you have to be an integral piece of that championship team that you're in, a top 3 piece at
Doesn't he have
least.
more rings than Jordan?
7 rings. Fisher, 5 rings. Fisher's not a Hall of Fame.
Yeah, you have to be a top 3 piece, and you have to at least 3 years average over 18 points a game with the championship rings.
Absolutely. Like, it's the same with Michael Cooper winning 4 rings with the Lakers. Yeah, he was an integral piece on defense, but offensively, did he contribute much? No, he's not a Hall of Fame player. He was known for one specific thing: defense, and that's not going to engage to the Hall of Fame.
Not at all.
Unless you're like a Dennis Rodman or Ben Wallace, right?
Oh, Dennis
You got it.
Rodman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
John, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I think you guys nailed it, man. I really, I don't think Manu. I don't think Manu's a Hall of Famer. I don't think Vince is a Hall of Famer. I don't know. My criteria is just championships, numbers. I know you guys were saying otherwise, but I mean, I don't know. That's just how I look at
Manu
it.
has 4 rings, a gold medal.
Yeah, but I mean, I look at his situation and realize he's just in a cush spot. He's coming off the bench. He's played with Parker and Duncan. He's in Popovich's system. I mean, I don't know. I mean, he is a very clutch player, but to say that he's, a Hall of Fame, that's pretty intense.
I think this argument could also be bestowed upon Dwayne Wade.
Right.
Who is Dwayne Wade?
It's too early to say about Wade.
He won a ring without LeBron, right?
Right.
But then Dwayne Wade was really out of the conversation for a number of years because of injuries. Mm-hmm. LeBron, Bosh comes to town. Dwayne Wade, lo and behold, 3-time NBA champion. Mm-hmm. And before that, would you have considered Dwayne Wade even a Hall of Famer with all those injuries?
I don't think so. No.
Dwayne Wade isn't the player he is now without LeBron James.
No, I still do think it's too early to tell how it's going to play out with Wade. I think he's going to have a big year.
You really think so?
I think so. I think he's going to have I think him and Derrick Rose are going to have huge comeback seasons and injuries.
I'm afraid with Derrick Rose. I mean, just having him sit down the second game now in the Olympics.
People are calling Derrick Rose the next Penny, and I hope that's terrible. I hope that's horrible to say.
You go beyond that. You could probably say the next Sam Bowie.
Derrick Rose?
Derrick Rose.
No, he's looking solid in the United States.
And then he had to sit out the second game because of sore knees.
Yeah, but I still think he's still showing wicked explosiveness.
Time to time.
Yeah, I see flashes
of him. Can he sustain it? That's what it is.
Right, that's the great question. Can he stay healthy?
In an NBA schedule, an 82-game schedule.
Right, I think having Gasol and Noah and those other offensive guys, I think that can help him out a little bit. But I don't know. I mean, I hope that he doesn't have to, be jacking up 30 shots a game.
If Rose stays healthy, the Bulls, I believe, win the championship this year.
Yep,
with that team,
I could see it.
I'll straight up and say it.
Gasol,
the Bulls can still contend without Derrick Rose healthy.
Yeah, they make
without Derrick Rose.
The past 2 years.
I'll say Dougie McBuckets. Pau Gasol. Those two additions on the team.
Who the hell is Dougie McBuckets?
McDermott.
I'll even say this team.
Doug McDermott? Isn't he an actor?
Nikolai Mirotic from Europe. Those three pieces right there improves the team.
And Jimmy Butler, a really good defender.
Right.
You have Todd Gibson coming out the bench.
Yeah.
You have McDermott, the All-American from Creighton, the best college player last year, in my opinion. Best college player from Creighton since Kyle Korver. It's been a number of years, but yeah, what Jerry said is that the Bulls are ready to contend this year. This is the year they're going to contend. And in my opinion, I don't think LeBron will be able to beat the Bulls by himself because, in my opinion, Kyrie will go out this year. And so will Love because they're known to have injuries each year.
Really?
They're known to have injuries this year. And then I had a conversation with Jared before where when those guys get hurt, who does LeBron have? No one.
Right.
The Bulls will whomp them.
Yeah.
They will kill LeBron.
I don't know. I still think that it would be a really good season. I see them, if Derrick Rose, I see them being in the Eastern Conference Finals together.
The Bulls are making the finals this year. I'll tell you, I have the Bulls. And the West is just wide open. Anyone in the West can win. Speaking of the West,
I want to bring up me and Jerry's topic we were talking about earlier with the Warriors.
Warriors is a top 5 team.
Well, no. With Clay and Lee feeling dissed the Warriors because they were, used as pieces in this trade with the Kevin Love deal. I personally think that, if they feel butthurt about it, they need to just, nut up and be, it's business. You know what I mean? It's not personal. It's business. If the Warriors were trying to make the best move for the best interest of their team, and ultimately they did not want to give up either one of them, or they didn't want to give up Clay, I should say, and the trade didn't go through. So, then you lace up your shoes, you go out there and you play the game. I don't think that there's a lingering. I don't think that they go out there. Maybe from the Warriors management standpoint, they feel like they need to prove something. But I mean, they're both professional athletes, and I think that they go out there. They still, embrace their position on the team.
I think the Warriors. I'm going to go out on a limb here and throw a heart. I'm going to go for the home run here. I don't think he finishes the season with the Warriors. I think they trade Lee.
Really?
In the middle of the season.
Okay, it's possible. I mean, he's got that contract. I could see him doing it.
the Warriors.
But it would have to be a stud.
Look at the playoffs.
Right.
The Warriors did well when they played that small ball lineup.
Right.
You put Lee out there. Lee is exposed defensively.
Yeah.
You put Draymond Green, Andrew Bogut.
I'd rather have Noah.
You can put Iguodala, Klay Thompson, and Steph Curry. That is their best lineup in a short series.
Mm-hmm.
In a long season, no. But in a 7-game series, Draymond Green playing the number 4 who can guard a 3, 2, and 4, and Bogut, hopefully he stays healthy. That is their best lineup. Lee, in a way, it's added value through the regular season,
Right.
but not the playoffs.
So you
That's
think
why
Lee would come off the bench?
I think Lee gets traded in mid-season.
What do you think, Jay? You think he gets traded?
What do I think it gets traded? A team that would want David Lee with that big contract,
Right.
it would have to be
It's a
a
year and a
team
half.
in contention of the playoffs. I would feel like,
I think the Knicks can make a move for David Lee.
but
Yeah, the money.
it's all about what would we get back.
Right. What will we get back?
I
We've
think-
got to get an all-star.
And Iman Shumpert would be for
That's
Lee.
the first thing we would think.
What?
That's the first thing. Iman Shumpert would be the piece. Tim Hardaway Jr. is totally off the table.
I think
They're-
Iman Shumpert.
Shumpert.
That's about it.
I would do a Shumpert for Lee trade right
Oh,
off the
I don't
Warriors.
know, man. You guys are bold.
I didn't say that. I would not do that at all.
Right.
I honestly feel like David Lee would have to take a lesser role on this team.
To stay.
Yeah, no, not to stay. It's just he's forced to be on the team just because the contract would permits. Unless you find another team who's willing to do trades like a Baron Davis to Cleveland Cavaliers for a number 1 draft pick. But I don't think you do trades like this when you're contending. You would rather keep that piece
Right,
because he
exactly.
can still contribute
Of course, again.
to a playoff
I mean,
team.
he hasn't shown any signs
Yeah.
of slowing down.
Yeah. You just give him a lesser role. Against the Clippers, of course, he's a bad matchup. Against the Thunder, he's a bad matchup.
Against the
Against the
Grizzlies.
Spurs, he's a bad
Against the
matchup.
Grizzlies, a poor matchup, bad matchup.
Contenders, he's a bad matchup. But if you put him a lesser role, you put Draymond Green more minutes. You put Harrison Barnes more power forward minutes where you can talk about that stretch 4. Everybody was talking about that stretch 4. We have him right here on this Warriors team. If you think Boris Diaw can shoot the damn ball playing that stretch 4, Harrison Barnes can shoot a lot better than Boris Diaw. He can do a lot more than Boris Diaw except for rebound and be a fat ass in the paint.
But I think this David Lee being out there, I think he's more of a, not a cancer, but he's more of a deterrent with the offense. He's like a ball stopper. Once he gets
He's
ball
a deterrent in the Mark Jackson offense. He's a deterrent because Mark Jackson, he fed David Lee in the post 3 possessions in a row, fourth quarter, several games when David Lee had the lowest percentage of post-up shots made. He had the lowest percentage. Mark Jackson pretty much didn't look at the advanced stats and still fed David
He
Lee.
shot 42%. It was very minimal. Very below average.
So I think that was the main reason why management, Lacob, Bob Myers, they talked about what needs to be done. The offense was just a complete disaster last year. And I just think with better coaching, give this team, keep this core together.
I agree.
Don't worry about it. We have a core that is very similar, 1 through 9, just like the Spurs.
I think you bring up the Spurs, due to the fact that you have Steve Kerr, but I think Alvin Gentry coming in, he's going to want to implement a much small ball team. I think that's where David Lee, like what you said, is going to play a more minor role. Javon Green is going to play a major role in this offense.
David Lee will get us wins regular season, but when it comes to playoff time, he will take a lesser role.
But I think you should trade David Lee during the regular season.
I would love to trade David Lee,
what can you
but
get for
I don't
David
know
Lee?
what the hell I'm going to get for David Lee.
Right.
What power forward can you get for David Lee that's better? Can you get an Al or Horford? Can you get a Greg Monroe? If you can't get an Al Horford, you can't get a Greg Monroe. What else is out there?
I think
Pau Gasol's already in the Chicago Bulls, and that was something.
I think you can get a Greg Monroe right now. If you can get Greg Monroe right now.
You cannot get a Greg Monroe right now
because
why would the Pistons want that damn salary in right now.
It depends. That's why you have to be willing for that. See what do the Pistons want for Greg Oden?
Honestly, I've thought of this taking a crap so many times. Warriors is what I'm about. I'm about that life. I think about these trades like crazy. I thought about every single freaking David Lee trade you could possibly make. What power forward in the NBA? David West is up there. But would the Pacers want David Lee?
They're not.
No.
Take that away.
What team wants David Lee? What team? The closest one was the Orlando Magic for Aaron Aflalo if the Klay Thompson trade went to the Minnesota Timberwolves, and it didn't happen.
Yep.
There was just nothing out there we can get at the power forward position for David Lee.
So we might as well keep him.
You know, going back to it now, I think the trade that could have had happened for David Lee was David Lee, Tyson Chandler, bringing Tyson Chandler in, who would be a better version than Andrew Bogut. If Bogut went down, you have Tyson Chandler there. Replace defense. Replace the pick and roll. That's something the Warriors could have
Keep Tyson on the bench. Is that what you're saying?
No. He could have started or he could have played the bench. But you having Bogut and Tyson Chandler there.
Yeah.
I think David Lee, I think Phil Jackson would have made that move, knowing the fact that he had to keep Melo happy, right?
Mm-hmm.
A player like David Lee who developed in New York, who played well in New York, and in the Warriors getting Tyson Chandler, that was a trade that they missed out, in my opinion. And I believe Phil Jackson would have made that move.
I don't want to wrap it up right now because I might go a little bit farther than it. But when it comes to spacing, offensively, Tyson Chandler doesn't give you much. Offensively, David Lee in an isolation position doesn't give you much. But David Lee's quickness is just so underrated. We just need to think about what does David Lee bring to the game. If he's going against a Blake Griffin, of course it's not going to work. If he's going against an Ibaka or a Kendrick Perkins, it goes half and half. He has a speed advantage against most of the power forwards. But defensively, that's where it pretty much becomes the problem.
I think it goes back on matchups. You look at the teams right now, Jerry. What can we say are the top 5 teams in the Western Conference? So you could look at the Clippers, no particular order. Clippers,
right.
Spurs, Warriors,
Thunder.
the Thunder,
Rockets.
Not the Rockets.
What?
The Rockets are they lost too many pieces. The Mavericks adding
Mavericks are scary.
Chandler Parsons. Those are really your top 5 teams. You have your bubble teams as far as the Rockets, the Blazers, and the Grizzlies, right? Given on health, those are really your top 8 teams.
Right.
The Warriors have those 5 teams. Let's say they finish number 5. They'll play either the Clippers, or maybe the Thunder, or maybe the Spurs, or maybe Dallas.
Right.
If they play Dallas,
it's a squash.
Yeah, because David Lee can expose Nowitzki. Nowitzki is not a simple player
right.
he was. They play the Clippers, that's a disadvantage. They play the Spurs, a big disadvantage.
Right.
They play the Thunder, another disadvantage.
Okay, so this is just pretty much what it is. If a lot of focus goes on David Lee, but the focus should be on the defensive. That's what the focus is on, the defensive end on the floor. David Lee gets murdered.
He does.
Due to his height. That's why I say, he needs to take a step back. He's going to get a little bit demoted. Draymond Green, he guarded Blake Griffin. Of course, he gives up so much size. I don't even know how Draymond Green even has a chance to succeed against Blake Griffin. But somehow he does it. And I just feel like with Festus Ezeli in the lineup, where you have a chance to play Bogut and Festus Ezeli together, that's why you have to keep the core together. There's just too much focus on what David Lee does wrong. But if you just take a whole collectively with the Warriors they can bring together and just make sure the matchups work. Don't look at Blake Griffin going against David Lee. It's not going to work. He's going to lose every single time. Don't look at it like that. You have to. Our coaches, This is their job. This is the coach's job. Make sure the matchup is right. Make sure David Lee's in the game at the right time to succeed. And you're fine. That's it.
And I totally agree with that, given the fact that we have Steve Kerr and Alvin Gentry, who are seasonal coach. Well, Gentry's seasonal coach, but Kerr, assistant coach, but never been a head coach.
Right.
But he has the Kirk Popovich way. Learned from Phil Jackson.
Right.
So he knows when to put players. He puts players in the position where they will succeed.
That's what it's all about.
It's all about.
That's it.
And we hopefully, I'm not a Warriors fan, but I believe in the Warriors. I believe the Warriors will make the second or the third round this year.
Right.
Given the fact that Steve Kerr's out there, Alvin Gentry, that they're going to learn from past mistakes that the Warriors have had. They've studied the film, and that you don't expose David Lee. Sherman Green, it worked against the Clippers. Dude, for crying out loud, they should have won the damn fucking series. I'm going to be honest with you right now. They should have won the fucking series, okay? They should have won the series.
Against who, the Clippers?
They should have won the fucking series. They should have won the second round. The Warriors should have won. I had the Warriors go to the freaking third round, the Western Conference Finals, last year, and they didn't, which is a disappointment.
It was a disappointment.
And you're talking to a non-Warrior fan.
Right.
The fact that I've actually rooted for the Warriors to make it to the Western Conference Finals, which is a disappointment on my part. But, yeah, is there anything else that you guys want to add?
Yeah, I agree with Jay. I think that there's just the deal is not right for Lee out there. I mean, like you said, I think we need to focus on what he's doing right more than what he can't do. And he's more of an asset on our team than people think. I think we probably even underrate his value a little bit.
Right. Next topic, guys. You want to switch it up to some comedy? Fantasy football. That's always comedy with our.
Let's do.
Okay, like right now it's like
so let's do mine.
Right now it's like
I want to talk about my team.
Top 5 running backs. With us right here.
Top 5 running backs.
Top 5 running backs.
I haven't even drafted the team.
Who are your top 5? Right
Top 5. I always got to give it to AP. I could care less what Jamal Charles did last year, but I'm always going to give it to AP. Jamal Charles will go number 2 just because Alex Smith is just so limited.
Right.
I feel like as a quarterback, then I got to go LaShawn McCoy.
Right.
That's 1, 2, 3.
It's a double threat.
Number 4, I got to give it to Eddie Lacy. I just feel like when you're playing against a team like the Packers, you've got to be conscious of, all the threats on the outside. Rodgers makes the quick read.
Because Rodgers is like, no, he's dependable, right? He's out for a little bit.
He's out for a little bit, but even if Lacey's going to play the secondary role of rush second, but if Rodgers goes out, rush first, I think he can succeed both ways. Number 5, I have to give it to the running back in the Denver Broncos, Monte Ball.
Can't even put Lynch in your list.
I'm not even going to put Lynch in my list, just because if you look at the Moreno stats last year, and Monte Ball is just a way better, quicker, faster running back with more skills than Sean Moreno.
So
that's why I have Monte Ball number 5.
That's
why I love your pick, John. Number 3rd round. I thought that was a steal.
Yeah. My top 5 running backs, similar to Jerry's. I have Purple Jesus at number 1. Number 2, I have LaShawn McCoy. I think he's a double threat. He can catch and he can run. Who's the other running back on that team? Sproles. Yeah, see, so that's an issue right there.
Sproles is more of a 3rd round back.
Exactly. But, I mean, I still think LaShawn is just super deadly. And I'm not quite convinced completely on Foles yet.
What do you think about LaShawn McCoy? I mean,
I think that's what I'm saying. I think he's the second best running back after Adrian Peterson.
Thumb injuries just today.
Yeah, I read the report just now. 10 minutes ago, they said he should be fine. I think Jamal Charles is probably the 3rd best running back. But like Jerry was saying, you cannot trust Alex Smith. He's the biggest home run threat in football, I think, is Charles. He has the chance to break one at any time he touches the ball.
We're doing these ratings. Are we doing this based on regular season? Or just...
So who we think the top 5 running backs are?
Based on you, man.
So that's... And then number 4, Number 4, I would put Lynch. I think he's a beast. I mean, he had 13 touchdowns last year. I mean, he's a ferocious runner. He runs pissed. He's from Oakland. He has that just gritty mentality. He's just hungry for the end zone, hungry for the Skittles. I think Lynch is a top tier running back. Number 5, I don't know. Number 5 is a toss-up for me. I'm not sold on Eddie Lacy. I'm not sold on a lot of running backs. So if I would have to put number 5, I would round it off. I'm going to do a shocker pick and say Matt Forte. I think he didn't have sexy numbers last year, but he was consistent all year long, and no one ever talked about him. You know what you're going to get out of him. He's solid. He's going to show up every game, and he's the premier back. So that's my top 5.
So I base everything on top 5. I look at not just potential, but I look at long-term value. Like, who's the running back that's going to help you win the Super Bowl, right? You look at running backs, you look at flash, you look at statistics. I think going back to Adrian Peterson, I think Adrian Peterson is the number one running back in the league today. Unless Sean McCoy, maybe most likely a number 2. Jamal Charles, a number 3, based on the usage that's bestowed upon him. Mm-hmm. But Jamal Charles could be a number 3, 4, or 5. But in my opinion, I think when I go to the playoffs, I look at certain running backs who is willing to win, who has the ability to win. I think a Frank Gore is still out there.
Whoa!
In my opinion,
right.
Not throughout the regular season, but when you go through
not fantasy football,
right? Because we're talking fantasy.
Oh yeah, well fantasy and then just regular season and playoffs. But I think that a Frank Gore, you transition him to the playoffs. That's when Frank Gore really shows up,
right? As
a top tier running back,
right?
As opposed to like Jamal Charles, who had a poor postseason.
Right.
Adrian Peterson, who sniffed the postseason once, right? We don't really know what he is after the regular season.
Right.
But when you base it on fantasy, just fantasy value within the first, 14, 16 weeks, you have an Adrian Peterson, a LaShawn McCoy, a Jamal Charles, a Marshawn Lynch based on usage rate, and then number 5 would be a Matt Forte.
Yeah.
Those are really your top 5 running backs based on usage rate within fantasy numbers, right?
Right.
But if you were based on just on players, you can rely on.
Right.
When it comes to postseason.
Right.
I don't know if I can rely on Adrian Peterson, or Matt Forte, or Jamal Charles.
What?
Marshawn Lynch for sure, because Marshawn Lynch has been there before.
Okay.
Matt Forte, I don't know. Matt Forte, right? Eddie Lacy, we saw him against the Niners. 66 yards, 65 yards on 20 carries. We know he wasn't ready. But a Frank Gore, who's been there before. You look at Frank Gore or Marshawn Lynch, really those are the 2 players you look at when you need the yards the most.
I think Calvin Johnson's obviously number 1. I think it's a no-brainer. And number 2, I would probably say is AJ Green. I think him and the Red Rifle have very good core chemistry going on. And AJ is young. He can jump. He's got great hands. He is a superstar in his position. And number 3, I would say it's Julio Jones. He's a stud. I mean, you can't. I'm not really too sold on Matt Ryan. Number 4, without a doubt, is Brandon Marshall. I think him and Cutler are going to have a huge year. I think you can even argue that Brandon Marshall is even the second wide receiver taken after Calvin. He's reliable, and I think that he's meshing very well with Cutler more than he ever did with his other quarterback. Obviously him and Cutler played together in Denver, so that is obviously going strong for them. Number 5, man, I don't know, man. You guys could probably help me throw out some wide receivers.
I'll help you out with this. I'll go with my number 1, of course, Calvin Johnson. Number 2, I'll shock the world. I'm not going to shock the world, but when I look at a receiver, I look at the physicality. I look for the speed. I look at a wide receiver who's looking to go for the deep ball, but also fight for the inside balls and just pretty much fight for balls in general.
Pierre Garçon?
Dez Bryant.
Okay.
Number 2.
Oh, I didn't even think about Dez.
Dez.
Number
He should have been my number 5.
I have Julio Jones.
Right.
If you look at the first 6 weeks of last year, injury-free, Julio Jones was the number 1 wide receiver
He
in
was.
the NFL first 6 weeks. So I have number 1, Calvin Johnson. Number 2, Dez Bryant. Number 3, Julio Jones.
Those are top 3. Are we looking at fantasy or
Just straight fantasy. This is a fantasy.
I think Calvin Johnson obviously is number 1. I mean, just based on the attributes, just based on the focus on Calvin Johnson. I think an AJ Green is your second tier receiver, in my opinion. Then going back to Jerry says, it's really a toss up between Julio Jones and Dez Bryant. Going back to Julio Jones, is he going to be the same player he was based on the injury he had last year?
Right.
I think the competitiveness, I think Dez Bryant is your really.
I'm not sold on Dez. I've never been sold on Dez.
I've had Dez.
Freakishly talented wide receiver.
Dez is a beast.
I don't trust Romo, though.
Going back to what John said, I was about to say that. Can you trust Romo to give him the ball?
Yeah.
Whereas Matt Ryan is willing to give.
I'm sorry, you guys are tripping. If you look at Romo's stats, Romo was a G. It's just the defense was just.
No, that's true though. It's true though.
Romo's a G.
Romo is a great fantasy quarterback.
But
Dallas sucks as a
is
team.
Romo going to be the same quarterback he was after the injury? That just occurred recently. The back surgery, right?
I have no idea.
I don't know. So we really can't say.
I think he'll be. I
feel like I could throw it to Dez Bryant for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, like there are probably
what if Romo gets hurt in the first week against the Niners?
Honestly, there's probably like
I think
10
their
other.
coach can throw the
There's
ball.
probably 10 other quarterbacks.
A third-string quarterback back in the 90s. Super Bowl quarterback, right? Super Bowl quarterback.
Honestly, there's probably 10 other quarterbacks that I would want on my team over Romo.
Oh.
I swear to God, like I don't even think he's even in the top 10.
Honestly,
10 is a lot.
Honestly, John, Niners, if they had instead of Kaepernick, they had healthy Romo. They'll go.
I mean, I would take Jay Cutler over Romo.
They'll go to Super Bowl every year with Romo.
I'm laughing over the Romo shit.
In my opinion, I think if Kaepernick is in there.
You think the Niners are overrated?
No, with this receiver core now.
Yeah.
What about over the Ravens?
Well, you look at the receiver core he had before that. Who did he really have? Dez Bryant.
We're having like 4 conversations. It's hella funny.
This is the best part of the podcast. Is the end. We're short. It's the last 20 minutes. This is when we forget this shit's even recorded. This was the Niners over the Ravens. What about it? They don't.
What about the Ravens? They'll kill the Ravens every year now, man. No blood test. Next topic. What's next topic?
No, killing a girl. This is the best part.
We were having 4 conversations.
Were we? Yeah. The question brought to you by a bottle of wild turkey.
Yeah, you know.
Okay, I got a fantasy question. Seriously, back to fantasy. When do you think it's appropriate to take a quarterback? What round? Because I took Stafford in the second round, and the security guard at my job laughed in my face when I said I took him as my second pick. That's because he said I would trip him for taking a quarterback number 2.
You could take a quarterback number 2, but you just look at the points.
Right.
You look at the points. If a quarterback has potential to get 400 points a year, you definitely take him the first 2 rounds. But Stafford throws way too many interceptions.
Yeah, it's almost 5 a game.
He throws, despite the points he can give you throughout a whole season, you got to look at the games he can take you out of a whole game. He can just take you out of a game where he'll make your team lose in a fantasy season.
Right.
Even though he puts points throughout the whole season, you can lose the whole damn game just because
I definitely took him second round because I took Calvin first, and I wanted that tandem. But I would not have taken Stafford.
But take a look at this. Stafford has a bad game. Calvin Johnson has a bad game.
And I'm double fucked.
You lost.
Yeah,
You just lost the game.
I did just lose. You're right. No, you're right. I'll play Oggs week 1. And, I mean, if Calvin and Stafford have a terrible first week, then Oggs is going to win. You know what I mean? Like, if he starts throwing picks and shit, it's a wrap. Okay. Production manager's turned up to the max. I wouldn't
turn it like Joe.
Yeah. That's that wild turkey right there. I wish we had the video on this side. me go describe. So Oggs is currently slapping me.
What's going on, Oz?
Oggs is faded off this bourbon redneck whiskey.
What are you doing, dude? We gotta the show, Oz. It's
We
recording.
completely lost control of our production manager.
So
He's completely turned and twisted off the bottle.
do you have any questions on our Facebook feed?
I just put the question out there. I just went, okay, right. Got the question out there. No questions.
There's no questions.
No one is up.
No
one is up.
What time is
What do you guys think about that De La Salle movie? Are you guys gonna go watch it when the game stands
Nope.
tall?
Nope, not at all.
Really? I think it's gonna be very inspirational.
I'll watch it when it comes on DVD.
I think it should be pretty good. It might be a better football movie than Rudy. No, I'm just playing. Nothing can be a better sports movie than
Yeah,
We're at the
I don't know.
57 mark.
Blasphemy.
Oh, we should probably wrap it up 57 minutes.
If it was a football team coming out
Okay,
with
so
baby
we always have to end it with one random stupid question that we can all answer.
Nick Cannon, Mariah Carey.
What?
Hold up. All right.
What's our opinion of the Nicki Minaj Anaconda video? What chick would I break up with Mariah Carey for?
I think that's
Yeah.
easy for me, man.
Damn. I would. Man, there's probably like at least 30 hoes I would take over. What?
I'm going Rosie Huntington. Rosie Huntington, dude. It's on.
Who's that? Who's Rosie
The
Huntington?
girl from freaking
Rosie
Transformers
O'Donnell?
3.
Who?
Transformers 3,
she's
the
pretty
Victoria's
hot. She's
Secret
pretty
I
model.
said Rosie
She's
O'Donnell.
like fucking hot.
Right. she's
No,
pretty
you're
hot.
not.
Done?
I'm signing off for the King of Swing, Paul Cruz, the
Giants win the pennant.
the thread killer murderer Jerry Lorena, Johnny Boom Boom, our production manager, Oggs Wild Turkey Gonzales. We're signing off,
101.
and we'll see you next week.